the best parts of the show, obviously, Edgy and Ash to some degrees, right? The whole will they, won't they? The whole why don't you talk to me? Why don't you look at me when we make love? Sort of like they don't go that far. They don't go that far.
That was hilarious.
They don't go that far.
Oh, okay.
They don't go. They don't do the seme uke thing. Just want to let you know that. Welcome back to the CorpsyAnn chat box. Of course, we're 5, sometimes 2 friends snuggle up in a teeny tiny space to talk about all things anime. This is episode 124, and I'm your host, Gregory. But I'm not alone today. The other person in this box sharing it with me is the lovely cinnamon roll of the podcast, Cammy.
What's up, everybody? I really like your sly take on the 5, sometimes 2 right there. That was a good one. That was a good move.
I think Cass actually mentioned that in a special Box Bits episode that you guys did recently, and I believe it could or could not be up on the Patreon as of this moment.
Woo-hoo.
But yeah, I believe she also said where some 2, sometimes 4, 5 numbers, and I'm like, oh, that's cute. That's also very indicative of how many people we have at any given time.
Our dear producer never fails us.
It's true. She is. She is the producer extraordinaire, as they say. With that out of the way, we have a review of a pretty heavy crime story and prolific anime/manga later today. Mm-hmm. But before we talk about that, we're gonna do something a little more lighthearted. There's a commonality between this episode and the episode I hosted previously on Promised Neverland, where the main topic is not associated or is a little bit more lighthearted in tone than the actual subject matter of the anime in question. Cammy, you proposed this topic to me just yesterday. Tell the kids at home what it's all about.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's actually funny. I don't feel like we in the past have intentionally thought, okay, if we're doing a heavy show, let's do a lighthearted topic. But it's kind of nice that it works out that way. I think that there are times when it's cool when we have a topic that matches the show. But if not, that just means we get to dip our hands into a lot of different anime subjects. And hopefully, if someone doesn't want to hear about a really heavy story, they can still tune in and find something cute to talk about, like this week, where we will be talking about our merch habits, like our merch buying habits. And I approached Craig with this because I noticed on his Twitter recently that he has been, have you been pre-ordering, like just online ordering, a bunch of stickers and art, I want to say?
Recently, I bought a key charm and 2 stickers from the artist Pemprika. I will plug them in the Twitter or in the episode description below. But they are a Hoseki no Kuni Orlando Lustrous fan, and they do charms and stickers, and the art is really adorable, and I saw that a few weeks ago when I got paid, and I'm like, oh, there's a faux charm. I'm going to totally buy that. And I was astounded to find that this artist has a Hunter x Hunter sticker and a Danganronpa V3 sticker of the Hat-kun, as Cammy recalls him being. So I was like, oh, I know someone that could totally go with this. And I showed Dom, and Dom was like, yo, you should do that. You should get Cass a thing. And I'm like, yeah, I got her the thing. So that has been the inspiration for Cammy being like, yo, let's talk about anime merch and supporting your local artists.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think that many listeners out there also, do like to dip their hands into getting merchandise once in a while. So I thought we could just share our habits. You also will buy, like, I think in my mind, the main area that I wanted to focus this topic on was like buying merch at cons. That's where I buy most of mine. I don't know if that's the case for you.
Yeah. Most of the time, it's. I feel as though anime conventions are the place to go where your wallet just dies. Whether or not you intend on it happening, it just does. You either find some wall decor, or a pin, or a key charm, or like, well, you could buy like physical merchandise or a plush, and you're just like, I'm gonna go in with a budget. But if you go with the crew, like,
oh my God,
typically we all go with crews. You're like, I'm gonna treat you, and the reciprocator of the gift is like, you don't need to do that, but you give it to him anyway, and you're just like, bye money.
Craig is speaking from experience. Personal experience in which he bought everybody gifts at KomoriCon.
I mean, if anything, I think I don't know if we said it on the podcast itself, but John made us all look bad that weekend and just completely was just like, nope, you guys get like 3 or 4 items apiece.
Oh my God.
Stand in line, Lucian
That's
Doge.
Right, what the fuck? He even looked for gay fan art for me. What an angel.
Yeah. Me and him went to like this dojin circle, like, or place that was selling dojins, and when the guy kind of gave him a hard time and be like, okay, I want to find some yaoi waiver velvet dojin material for a friend, and the guy was like, sure. Needless to say, that was a funny exchange because I was standing on the side and I was just like,
You're just like, sure. It's so sweet of him to think of that because, like, I don't need it to be gay, but I appreciate that he's like, I'll look for something gay that'll make her happy.
It was the funniest thing too because I was like, okay, Lucian Doge, as I like to joke and call him, I was like, yo, him and Erica Mendez and Justin Briner are doing autograph signings today. We should probably, like, see if we can get, like, something signed by the voice actor Waiver Velvet. And he's like, okay, well, I can't find fan art. So then we're gonna, like, what are the odds if we found Yaoi Dojin and get him to sign it? But we did find one. However, it was
sketch.
It
was sketch.
Oh, it's
Thank you for
really
not
weird.
Thank you for not choosing that one.
Oh, poor Iskandar.
Oh God. But actually, I'm really impressed with either the escapades of both of you or of John. But like, you found official art that I'd actually never seen before, and that was that made it all the cooler. But yeah, actually, I'm glad you bring that up because I also, when the time is right, if there is a voice actor, typically voice actors for me, that are signing autographs, I do like to get some material signed. I think that is just a fun thing to do, along with having 2 things with Lucian Doge's signature, who voices Waver. I have the art from John, and then I also have this little Japanese art that my friend got me when he was in Japan, and I had him sign that as well. I have our case of Persona 5 and the disc signed by my man Robbie Damon, voice of Goro Akechi, that I got at Katsucon. That was fun. Do you have a favorite autographed item that you have, Craig?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Admittedly, let's see here. So I got stuff signed by Erica Mendez, voice of Akko from Little Witch Academia,
nice.
And Ryoko from Kill la Kill. But outside of that, I also have Caitlin Glass, her autograph. You know her as a voice actress for Winry Rockbell from Fullmetal Alchemist. Also Maki from Love Live. And Sonny Strait, you know him from Krillin from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. But I also got Justin Briner's autograph for Cass way back when, and I tell you what, like, voice actors and actresses are really stoked to see people, but man, that guy was like glowing. He was just so stoked to be there, to be in Portland that weekend, and
Aw.
just to be like, go and I recall it being an early autograph signing session too. It's like 9 in the morning, and it was a Sunday if I remember serves right. And he's just like, "Oh yeah, hey, come on." It's just like, "How's the con?" I'm like, "It's awesome. How's Portland?" And he's like, "Oh, I just love exploring it and just going to like all the local eateries and all that sort of stuff." I'm like, "That is awesome." It just he had this giant like smile on his face. I'm like,
Aw.
"Oh, you are Deku. You are a soft
Oh,
boy.
that's so pure. Oh my god.
You are a soft boy."
Oh,
I did
love
not.
that.
I know in that weekend. I believe Monica Rial was also there. She's
Oh,
Suyu from My Hero and Bulma, as well as Cliff Chaplin, I believe his name is. He's Bakugo, and I'm like, I wish I could have gotten their signatures too, but alas, I could not.
there were a million people there. I remember actually another really cool thing about KomoriCon is when I was walking with John, we were going somewhere and I think we were waiting to meet up with you guys. We straight up walked by J. Michael Tatum and his like assistant who was there just like outside, like didn't say anything obviously because it was just like a walk by, but I was like, that was J. Michael Tatum. We just walked by J. Michael Tatum. And then there was another time
awesome.
when all of us were together and I think we were going over to the karaoke room because we were just like dawdling. We totally walked by Lucian Dodge and I was like, that's Lucian Dodge.
Yeah. I remember. I think I was walking with you when that happened. You're like, "Oh my god, that's Lucian Dodge."
Yeah, that's fun.
Minor.
I feel like they were just like they were hanging out at like KomoriCon, all the actors, and I don't think you get that at every con. I think at some convention centers they like have their kind of like back paths and stuff, but it was just cool to see them around. It was a good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bringing that back to like merch and stuff like that is so like in my case, it's a lot of it's dictated by gift giving or like autograph signings. If I do, another thing I do at conventions, I typically grab their business card and then I instantly follow them on like social media, mainly Twitter, to find out if they have online shops to just kind of like see if I can buy something after the fact. Sometimes I do. I follow a fighting game community artist. Her name is Shunao, and she does a lot of cute anime prints. I got a Land of Luster's print from her, as well as a let me think here. I got a Dragon Ball print from her, as well as a Blaze Blue print from her on her online store. So yeah.
That's actually a habit I need to get into. I've gotten better over the years about grabbing business cards, but I'm bad at following up on grabbing business cards. And like seeking out their Twitters, but I totally should do that. What is it with this is kind of a fun question that just came up off the top of my head because you mentioned that your purchasing is often dictated by gift giving. And maybe just one, if you can think of it. Is there like a favorite gift of anime merch that you have given to somebody? And I guess like maybe why? Was it like a good reaction? Was it just like the art itself or whatever you got?
That's a good question. Very good question. I would say it's I think if I recall correctly, didn't I give you Kaoru, Shinji Kaoru art, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's either a tie between that or the My Hero Academia print with Small Might and his mom signed by Justin, and I gave that to Cass on the same weekend, and I'm like, I think those are tied right now for best piece of content provided gift wise. So
I massively appreciate the one you gave me because it was not only like Kawashin, which you know I'm absolute trash for, but it was also Kawashin memes. You got me fucking Surf's Up Shinji-kun. Like that's so
right. I do remember saying that.
And awesome. I appreciate it. Oh, it was so good. Speaking of more memes and like niche, I think that the niche thing really does make it for me. My favorite gift that I have given somebody was, and I wasn't intending to, it was one of those moments where you just walk by and you see this item like in shining light and you're like, I have to.
Yeah.
I walked by an art stall and I saw a print of Popko and Pee Me from Pop Team Epic, and like they had
you did.
Yeah, they had their original like art designs and stuff, but they were like doing the pose and like the backgrounds of Revolutionary Girl Utena. Can you guess who I was like, I have to buy this for?
It's Suki.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yes. I was like, holy shit. My friend is going to lose her mind. I have to buy this. Like, I was more excited about it than the artist was. I was like, you do not understand how fitting this is.
That's really great.
Yeah, that was like right during like right after Pop Team Epic aired, and Suki just like always has the Popko icons, and I was just like, yes, this is everything.
This is perfect. Perfect.
Exactly. And I think I got so excited at one point when we were in call that I was just like, I know I haven't mailed this out to you yet, but I'm going to spoil it right now. And then I had to like show it to her on call because I was so
that's
excited.
Cute.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope she likes it. I think she liked it. She was very, very happy with it. And that, yeah, I think that makes it worth it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I also wanted to ask if there are like any franchises that you are always on the lookout for, or if you find art for, you're probably going to buy it.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say Precure, but that's very niche, even by merchandise standpoints.
Maybe like specific cures? Are there any that you... Yeah.
Well, I mean, anything Heartcatch, but like I said, the Precure franchise is very, very niche. So on the whole, Love Live is a lot easier to find and go after. When it comes to wall decorations and whatnot, I have run into the situation though where I'm like, man, I have a lot of wall decorations, and I don't have that much space for it. I have a lot of keychains and charms, and I don't have the key ring. It's like my pocket is exploding at a certain point, and you're just like, I had to put them on rotations.
Yes.
And then like my figure shelf is just like, okay, there are so many figures, and even at KomoriCon, you see Love Live figures. You see anywhere from like $30 figurines to like $100 figurines, and you're just like, oh, there's some Love Live, there's some Kamen Rider, that is cool, there's even some Fate stuff in here, hey, alright, that's pretty rad, and you're just like, I don't have the room for this, and then also you look at your wallet and you're just like, I already spent X amount of money, I can't break the bank, and at this point I'm like, okay, it's a good thing that KomoriCon is in November this year instead of October, and I can save money in order to brace myself for the inevitability that is the artist alley in the dealer's room.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I feel you with that, just as far as like more niche stuff, and like there are just, and like not only am I 99% likely to buy it, I will usually like just express my joy to these artists for being like, oh my god, this is like, you know, a series I love, a character I love, like, and they either are like, oh my god, that's so cool, or they're just like, that's great, here you go, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. I'm just very happy. I
think it's probably, the latter case probably stems from the fact that they've been up since like 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're just like, okay, I have to sit down all day.
You know what? You're right.
All right, let's go.
You're right.
I don't have time to explore or get away from my stall, but dang it, there's a crowd going, so this is great. We're gonna keep going, but also I'm tired. I'm very tired.
You very right. I'm sure they're either like they're exhausted, they might be hopped up on coffee that's not working, like who knows. I feel it's probably really stressful to table. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, I know some I've been to some artist booths that actually have people helping them out, which is really nice because I remember SoccerCon, I believe it was. Yeah. I got a Persona print, and I asked for the contact card, and the guy there was like, "Oh no, I'm watching this for my friend."
I've had that. They're
going to lunch.
I've had
and I'm
that
like,
too.
oh
yeah.
You're a trooper, sir. You're a
Right?
trooper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have a friend who is an artist and frequently tables, and I won't name names just for confidentiality, but she and her
Right.
boyfriend table, and he's a good artist boyfriend where he'll like kind of hover at the table, make sure she's fed and well stocked and help set up and all that. And that's pretty sweet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cammy, I have a question for you.
Hmm?
If you're wanting to answer this question, mind you, you don't have to. But what is the most expensive thing you have bought at a convention for yourself or for a friend?
Good question, actually. I think with me, like, I don't typically buy big expensive items, primarily because as much as I do like them, I don't buy a lot of figures, and I feel like figures are where you can get pretty pricey.
Yep.
Typically, like, at this point, outside of cons, the most expensive things I usually buy are Nendroids, and they're about like $60. I have a few. It's actually really sad. I told myself, because I got straight A's last semester, that I earned myself the Tsukishima Nendroid from Haikyuu, because I want it really bad. But I still haven't been able to afford him because he's $95 and I am living paycheck to paycheck, so I can't buy him yet.
Damn.
Yeah.
That is a pricey Nendroid.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did it come out recently?
I don't know why he's so expensive, especially because in comparison, like, Yamaguchi is like $60. And I'm like, you're both really good boys, but you're also, like, the same as far as being, like, kind of more side characters. Why is Suki so expensive? But I think also...
Maybe a lot more parts.
Yeah, he also might not be as heavily circulated. Like, I've been to little, kind of, like, anime-adjacent shops around the Maryland area. Like, we found one recently. And they had, like, Tanaka and Nishinoya from Haikyuu, like, just there. And I'm just like, okay, so some of the characters were probably mass-purchased and, or mass-produced and didn't sell out as quickly. But I guess that's not the case for Tsukishima, and after season 3, I guess I get it. So he probably will end up being the most expensive one. At a con, the one thing that I will usually spend a fair amount of money on is actually t-shirts or sweatshirts. And it's
interesting.
Yeah, it's rare that I will go that route, but sometimes I just see really cute like anime or anime-esque art on clothes, and I'm like, yeah, I totally want to buy that. I think the most expensive one I have is this hoodie that's not even a specific anime. It's just an artist drawing like a cute anime style. It's a pink sweatshirt, and it has a like bunny rabbit face on the front of it, and then the sides have little carrots on it, and it just says snack expert. It's like,
oh, that's cute.
And
I like that.
Yeah, it's comfy, it keeps me warm, it's really cute. And I actually I'll find a video of it. Actually, I did an interview at Anime Boston, and I like centered my outfit that day around just like this kind of cute, like, weeby pink magical girl aesthetic, like wearing the hoodie. And I actually got like compliments from people. It wasn't a cosplay, but it was just like me kind of dressing in an anime aesthetic, and people really liked it. So
nice.
Yeah, that was fun. I like, typically I just buy art a lot. I buy a lot of prints, and the small prices of things just kind of builds on itself. Because
yeah. And again, if you run with the crew, then you're just like, hey, I'm gonna treat you, and then you're like, Wallet-kun, why? Oh, I did this to you. I'm so sorry. The betrayal is real.
Oh yeah.
I'll make it up to you next paycheck, baby. I promise.
Exactly. It's like, it's dangerous. It's a hard life, but to some degree, it's gonna make us happy, you know. And then that's really what matters. That's really what matters.
I was about to say, you go to a lot more conventions than I do, right? You go to...
I think I used to be more active. Now I pretty much do, like, Otakon, because that's here. And then that's unfortunately kind of about it. I haven't really been able to do Sakura-con. I did Anime Boston, I guess, like, a couple years ago. But, like, especially now in grad school and no money, I don't foresee myself going to many, which... It's just,
I can totally get that.
Yeah.
I can totally get that. Only reason I go to Komori-con is it's literally 30 minutes away.
Oh, heck yeah.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, distance-wise, actually, that's about as far as Otakon is for me. It's like right in the middle of Washington, D.C., and it's like a 30-minute metro, which is basically max ride. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm glad it's such a big con, and it is fun to go to. I did really well at not spending money at it this year. Okay. I think
I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I think I have one last spicy question, and then we can close out our topic on this. Yeah. Have you ever bought a dojin at a convention?
Yeah, I do, actually. I visit the Baku booth unironically, and I buy dojins there.
Hey, get it.
Obviously, like there are other dojin booths there, like as we mentioned earlier, as a joke, we were gonna get Camby some yaoi dojin from Fate, but alas, the Fates did not deem it so. We will succeed again, maybe this year. But no, I typically go over there.
Nice.
Funny enough, they have a pretty good selection. They have, weirdly enough, they have tape decks for skateboards, and then they have
wow,
cool t-shirt. They have cool t-shirts. They just released a t-shirt of a dojin, which is really sad. It's called Metamorphosis.
Huh.
So if you wear the t-shirt of the main girl in that manga, and people recognize it, then you know that they also have sinned.
Isn't that the really sad one that Cassie told me about?
It's so sad.
Oh no.
It is so sad.
Oh no.
We'll talk about this later on pod.
That'd be a fucking fun box bits episode. Just talking about fucking doujinshi.
Oh, okay. You want an entire analysis about the Metamorphosis like manga? Cass could probably talk about that at length.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hot stuff for the Patreon for the patrons. But yes,
sizzling.
I usually go to. I think they have brands, but what I usually look for in convention centers is the booth that has the big rainbow flags on it, because usually that booth has boxes and boxes of like BL yaoi doujinshi. And I never buy a lot, but I have bought them at like different times in my life. I think the first one I ever bought was a Hetalia one because I had a dark phase in my past. And then
it can't quit you. You can't quit it.
And then around college time, I remember I bought a Mako Haru dojin for free. That was like really cute. And my last one was about 2 years ago, and I bought a Joker and a Catchy Dojinshi for Persona 5.
You would. How's Pancake Sun treating you nowadays? Is the obsession still there?
I mean, it's.
I mean, love. That's not obsession.
No, it's fair. It's fair. I was heavy obsessed. It's been chill, but the thing is, we're getting more and more of these P5R leaks, and as soon as Royal like becomes accessible, I will dive right back into probably that terrible trash cesspool that I have lived in for a long period of time. Next
spring, yo.
I'm so
Spring
hype.
2020.
I'm big hype. Yeah. But yeah, this was actually a fun topic, and I actually feel like we could totally revisit it at some point with everybody and just like mix up the questions a little more, because that would be cool. I just don't want to keep us too long, because we did hit about the 30-minute mark, and we got a lot to talk about.
Conversation was good. We do. Okay, so shifting gears to something a little bit. Let's get serious. To our main review of the day, the summer 2018 MAPPA produced anime Banana Fish. Banana fish. Banana fish. Other shows by MAPPA. Two shows that, or one show that we will talk about in the coming weeks. A show that we literally talked about a few weeks ago. Dororo and Sarazenmai.
I like how you played that. I like how that was strategic.
Right. The synopsis goes as such. This is 2 paragraphs, so I may be winded after this.
I got you.
Aslan Jade Kalinese, otherwise known as Ash Lynx, was a runaway picked up the streets of New York City and raised by the infamous godfather of the mafia, Dino Golzine. Now 17 years old and the boss of his own gang, Ash gets his hands on a mysterious drug called banana fish. Banana fish. I just keep over-enunciating it because it's funny.
It's fun.
The same 2 words his older brother, Griffin, has muttered since his return from the Iraq War. However, his investigation is hindered when Dino sends his men to retrieve the drug from Ash at an underground bar he used as a hideout. At this bar, Skip, Ash's friend, introduces him to Shunichi Ibe and his assistant Eiji Okumura, who are Japanese photographers reporting on American street gangs. However, their conversation is interrupted when Shorter Wong, one of Ash's allies and the antithesis of a bro, calls to warn him about Dino. Yeah, Cammy over there has feelings about Shorter. He's a good boy. Soon, Dino's men storm the bar and, in the ensuing chaos, kidnap Skip and Edgy. Now, Ash must find a way to rescue them and continue his investigation into banana fish. But will his history with the mafia prevent him from succeeding? Good job, my anime list. You distilled the premise in the first 3 episodes into a 2-paragraph synopses. Kudos. Real quick, I just want to say this review may have content warning because the show is dark. I did this at the front of Promised Neverland, but I feel as though it warrants it here because there is some dark shit that goes on, including prostitution and drug abuse and violence. Yeah, pretty fucked up violence, but the rape shit is at the front of it.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you mentioned that. That's very thoughtful of you, and I think is very important for anybody to know going into this show, because if not, I think it's an immediate turnoff. Yeah, I was going to dive into this in story, but I will definitely just mention to throw my 2 cents into that as well. I mentioned that I think this show is not for everyone. It is completely understandable to drop off if you are sensitive to physical, mental, and sexual abuse, because there is a lot. There's honestly too much. Not to mention drug use, terrorism, veteran PSD, racism, and gang violence. Just to name a few things. Yeah, there is a lot of stuff here that if you are not prepared for, just, I think that warning does need to go out there. I think that also we will do our best in this review not to use the term rape too much. I've in my notes tried to say assault as best I can. Yeah. That's fair. That's really fair. But yeah, I agree. Thank you very much for dropping that in.
So Cammy, I'm going to implement a question that you used in last week's episode. What is your history with this show? Because I recall you and Cass being really excited about this, and me obviously passing it for impressions. I was really intrigued by the one aspect of the show, but however, which was the gang war and the mystery of Banana Fish, but actually wound up liking other aspects of the show, aka the romance of the main 2 characters.
Okay, so, I had not heard of this show until I heard the news of its adaptation. And just on a, surface level skim, I looked at, okay, this was a very well-regarded, a manga from the 80s. Notably, 85. Oh, wow. Notably, a manga from the 80s that included Boys Love. And so that timing and that plot element, and then just to have it wrapped around this package of like the gang wars and stuff, it just sounded so unique. And I was like, okay, I totally want to check this out. This could be really cool. And the news of like MAPPA animating it, and the trailer looked great. Yeah, it just seemed really interesting. And then I put it on my impressions list, and I was like, no one's gonna steal it from me. And then, and then Craig, thanks to also our friend Zach, his input, Craig took Banana Fish, which is honestly pretty cool. But I even remember like me being stupid in the review, and when you said it, I was like, "How dare you take Banana Fish from me?" Which was really dumb.
My son, Edgy, my son. Ash needs a hug. He needs a hug. Do not take him from me.
Oh my god! No, like I didn't even know enough about the show then. I just thought it sounded really cool. So, I mean, regardless, I am really glad that it is something that you picked up, and especially that you continued it for impressions. So yeah, I've learned more about it, honestly, since watching it. Then we can...
You mean from a behind-the-scenes standpoint?
Yeah.
Or like...
Yeah.
I'm very curious to hear more later on.
Yeah. Where do I even start? What story?
Yeah, I was about to say, story-wise, I will say, I guess this kind of shows the hand of, like, a fun fact about the production about this, but the original manga and the synopses here, and what you just mentioned, references war and Vietnam War. The anime adaptation references the Iraq War.
Yeah.
Of dealing with Griffin's brother, or Ash's brother Griffin. This adaptation does modernize a few things, but also, weirdly enough, has some inconsistencies with itself.
Thank you! Oh my god, I noticed that exact same thing too, and...
There is a scene where they go to Los Angeles, and there is a Windows XP machine, and I'm like, we're transported back to the 90s.
I didn't even catch that one. You know what? I think the biggest one for me was they were talking about Eiji's hometown, which is called Izumo, and then Ash is like Gizmo, and then he's like, no, not from Gremlins, and I'm like, that's 80s, that's fucking Gremlins, like,
God damn
people
it.
People are not gonna be like casually referencing Gremlins in like 2019.
But they also have iPhones, surprisingly.
It's like you said, it's inconsistent. And I would love to know your thoughts on this, because for a multitude of reasons, I honestly think they could have just left it in the 80s.
Yeah, I think it would have been fine that way, considering a lot of context and a lot of... I'm not going to try and excuse any of this when I say this, but like, I think a lot of the PC culture of the nowadays is a lot cleaner, and I think a lot of the gangs are a lot more angry at each other and a lot more racist.
Yeah, the racism, I agree. I appreciate that they addressed racism, but it was in a very antiquated way. Like, I don't think you're gonna find the whole thing of like, oh, the Chinese, and like all they do is like own Chinese restaurants and stuff, and then like there's
Chinatown and the black or the African American guys. They're all in Harlem, and I'm like,
And there were some weird insults. I know someone, I think one of Arthur's goons kidnapped Eiji, and he called him Samurai Boy. And I think you're exactly right. Like, along with some of just the inconsistencies with like pop culture references and stuff, some of that phrasing and the way that the like political culture stuff emphasized itself, it still felt like it was the 80s. And I think that it would have done itself just fine to stay in the 80s.
Yeah.
Especially go ahead.
No, it's just really interesting because, like, to go on, like, the Samurai Boy bit, like, they even talk about how Eiji and one of the Chinese mafia bosses, his name's, let's see here, it's Yu Lung.
Yu Lung. Li? Oh, we have...
Yeah, Yu Lung.
Oh, God.
Basically how they comment how he's very effeminate, and this is where a lot of the toxicity of a lot of oh god, I just don't even know how to say this. Basically, a lot of a lot of guys get abused and by other men in power, and it's really bad. And eventually, Craig got really tired of it and kind of sympathized by the fact that certain characters hated the world.
Yeah, it's I was actually talking to Cassie about this earlier today, and I was just like, sometimes the show, like, 80s or not, I think I mentioned something, and I will be as vague as I can, but there are a lot of really shitty, cishet, rich off white men that are just really shitty. And sometimes, like, you know, the things that they did, it got really oppressive, and I was like, this is a little too real. This is, like, a little too hard to invest a lot in. It's to a point where a certain character is voiced by a prolific voice actor, and I'm like, unfortunately, that voice actor passed away in August of 2018, and I'm like, that is your last role, and that is really sad. You are Mr. Satan. You are Joseph Joestar. Sir, I am sorry. You did a good job, but also at the same time, freaking, what's his name? Unsho Ishizuka. They did that in memory of him at the title card of the last episode.
Yeah, and I'm like, his character is the antithesis of kind of rich men in power who can abuse the system to his will, and I'm like, gross.
Yeah. To backtrack a little bit on that as well, I think for this show, again, knowing that you're going into something that can be pretty heavy, I think it's also really important to keep in mind that this is a work that was made in the 80s. Especially in regards to the way that like BL is handled. I took like a history of manga course in college and learned a little bit about this, and there's a lot of literature if you go into the internet and just researching. But up until like that point from the 80s, probably starting around like the 60s, 70s, probably more so, a lot of like the only BL that was really popularized emphasized like assault and tragedy a lot. Like that was it, honestly. And a lot of times it was very romanticized. Like one of the very popular early BL called The Heart of Thomas, like is in a European setting, and it's very like kind of almost theatrical tragedy. And I like the fact in Banana Fish that, and again, it's later years, so it's in the 80s, it's put into a world that's a bit more grounded, nitty-gritty. It's trying to say, hey, this is shitty stuff that happens in, like, the dark underbelly of society. So I, like, there's a lot of things that are very excessive, and some may find inexcusable, and I can totally understand that, but I also think that you have to remember the time that this was made, and why some of those choices were made to even bring the story out. I think that the sexual assault was excessive. It was too excessive.
It was too excessive. Yeah. It got at the back half of this show to a point where it's just kind of even more cringe than it needed to be.
So cringe in this back half. I agree completely.
They introduce a character, and we'll talk about this later because we will have a spoiler room, but they introduce a character which just takes it above and beyond, and I'm just like, I have in my notes, shitty final villain.
Oh my god. Okay, yes.
You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, I do. Basically, just to kind of sum it up, where I think that Yuri on Ice is a very contemporary look at an anime with gay representation in relationships, Banana Fish is kind of the classic origins of an anime that has a story, but also has a story with gay representation in relationships. So the portrayal and the constraint in the way that the narrative expresses itself is connected to the time that it was made. So it's like, I don't like it. This is another reason I really wish they stuck with the 80s theme, because then it wouldn't seem even worse. Because, like, you don't want to believe that this is believable in 2019. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you then. To kind of, because we're kind of like talking about the story, and like it's kind of like our qualms about the story, right? And how it's contemporary with its time. Do you feel as though, sans all the other toxic, assaultive relationships between men,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel as though were you interested in the gang war?
Yes.
The inevitability of the gang war.
Yes.
Were you invested in the mystery of banana fish?
At first, yeah. In the first maybe like 6 or 7 episodes, I was really down for the suspense, the chase, the purpose of the drug.
Yeah.
Just kind of all of that I was really good about. And I'm going to be honest, there's just a point in the show where it really shifts from that. Like, Banana Fish is still kind of adjacently involved, but it really just becomes a story of vengeance for Ash. It's Ash's story and Ash's journey, primarily, I think, is what it goes into. Unfortunately, I think that the second half is not as strong as the first half.
Do you feel as though it gets a little sloppy in terms of execution, in terms of its problematic elements? It fires on all cylinders, and I think it just goes a little too fast and plays a little too loose with itself. I believe the main staying point, and what I believe, even for the get-go, which was really solid, was the relationship between Ash and Edgy. That was genuine. That was like, and I guess that's kind of like touching upon characters, but like real quick, that was the only, like, Ash's only like confidant and solace in a world that is like fucked him over so much. And I'm like, I can believe this. I can really believe this, and I like these two characters a lot.
That's awesome.
Edgy is literally a soft boy, and they balance each other out.
That is awesome to hear. I definitely also think that Ash and Eiji's relationship is very strong. It's also interesting because at the beginning of the show, I expected that their romance was going to be at the forefront of the show, but it's really not. It's just kind of adjacent to everything. It circles around everything, but it's not at the front because there's all this other crazy shit going on. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would say it kind of comes to a head in the back half because eventually everyone and their mother starts to realize that Ash's
weakness is Eiji.
Yeah, and also, let's be real, when I even said it when we did the summary, Ash is 17. He's not he's not 30.
Yeah.
He is a teen. Edgy is 19, and when Edgy and Ash go through some shit. Ash, obviously, more so. But, like, he's impulsive, he can be rash, and Edgy is essentially his, like, he keeps him grounded, and when he's gone, he can lose his shit. And understandably so, he is a teenager.
Yeah, that's just why, even more so, I think that the sexual assault was way too excessive when you remember the fact that Ash is underage. It just makes it all the more sad. But yes, This is
New York, baby, in the 80s, and it's even scummier.
Their relationship is amazing, and it honestly is what kind of keeps you going throughout the show, so you don't completely fall to madness.
That's where I was going to say, and why I asked if you were engaged in the turf war, because at a certain point, I kind of wasn't, and I was only there to see Dino Golzine be taken down. Like, it was a means to an end. It was an eventuality, and I was just like, it's just watching it all unfold. But what always is, it kept escalating. Like, everything kept ratcheting up, especially in the back half. I come home, and much like Ash and Edgy, Ash comes home, and Edgy's like tapping his foot, kind of like, and I don't mean this as like a diss, but Edgy is like the mom, or like the waifu, he is waifu, and he's like, where have you been? Why don't you tell me stuff? Why aren't you talking to me? I made you dinner. And then Ash is like, well, this is Japanese food. I don't know what this Japanese food is. Not racist. He's out of everyone else being kind of like really cringe about it. Ash and his gang members I'm spacing on their names, but the guys that always hung around Eiji were actually really didn't give a shit and actually kind of like liked him for who he was and embraced like his like otherworldly view, like Japan, like fish out of water sort of situation. And I really appreciated that.
That's awesome. I actually, so Ash and Eiji aside, because I do think that I have a couple qualms with their relationship, but like nothing too big. And I'll actually dive more into it, into characters. It's a better place to do it. But like I actually did really like a lot of the gang collaboration and a bit of the politics. Not necessarily like who owned what, because like even that whole confrontation with Arthur was like kind of meh. But I really liked how the bosses had different dynamics. I really like how we have Ash and we have Kane and we have Shorter and we have Singh and like how different they all are. Where their priorities lie. And I think my favorite was when they collaborated. I did really like seeing them operate together, whether that was a mission to rescue somebody, whether that was moderating like a fight, whatever. I just thought that was fun. I was like, there are these I don't know. I like
there's loyalty on the streets essentially, and basically at a certain like I can agree with that, right? Like my only qualm was basically the escalation, and everyone is just shooting guns at each other, and at a certain point, it's just like, well, Dino's got like greasing the wheels and like giving policemen and women like money to essentially hush money, essentially, and eventually it became all just about the guns and turf war. But you're right, the collaboration like amongst like Kane and Shorter and all them, it was really cool. They had styles, they had different turfs, and then essentially what they were experts at was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. So. I think I kind of get you though. I eventually, especially in the back half, like there were some scenes like especially when they reached like the mental institute ward, and I didn't even like know what we were chasing after. I was just like, everyone's together and they're shooting shit, but I don't actually really know what the goal is here. Because again, and like the fact that Banana Fish itself, which the show is named for, becomes just kind of like a side element that's like almost forgotten. And this brings me into,
especially in the back half.
This brings me into probably my biggest issue with this show, which is the pacing. It's so breakneck that I didn't get enough time to sit with to breathe with moments and like kind of really soak in their impact. I would still feel moments and be like, damn, this is brutal. There is something that happens to one of Ash's best friends. That's all I'm going to say. And and that entire scene, I'm just like, fuck, this is really brutal. Oh my God. Yep. But like, I didn't cry, I guess. And
because it just happened so abruptly. Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, yeah. And like I think back on it and I'm like, that's sad, but I didn't get to process it. Exactly.
No. We all really didn't, because as you say, even when they have a time to breathe, the moments of the respites of like time to sit down and talk with Eiji about like his day, Ash won't really open up. He does slightly as time progresses, but like, yeah, it's immediately just like the next scene he's on, and it's just like getting ready to go to war or some shit. And I'm like,
yeah,
damn boy,
honestly,
I get vengeance.
Honestly, I think my biggest issue with Ash and Eiji's relationship is, and especially this happened like near the middle, it just became a constant of, hey, we're separated. Hey, we're together, but I'm going to leave. Hey, where were you? Hey, we're together again. And it just felt, it eventually to me felt really cyclical, and they weren't like getting anywhere with it. Like it wasn't building to something. And that kind of frustrated me a little bit. Like I just got kind of tired of it.
I also can get that. Like it's an interesting romance. It's a romance, but it's a will they, won't they? I'm bad for you. You shouldn't be with me. And then the boyfriend says, no, I love you for who you are. And then Ash says, no, you're a moron. You are pure as the fallen snow. You Japanese boy.
Yeah.
And then I am corrupted. I am filthy. I have the blood on my hands, which also, by the way, like the concept of Ash saying I have blood on my hands, it was just like, fuck, you sweet blonde boy. You're 17 years young.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I definitely can agree. Like the whole, oh, let me stay. No, I must away from you. I will keep you in this safe house so you can be protected for your own good. Yeah. For your own good. And it's just like, and they just baby boy.
And they just didn't, like, talk through it during, like, that whole middle part. And it just, like, kind of, I just got kind of tired of it. But again, some of that could be due to the pacing. You might mention this in production, but I'll just bring it up now because this is just the case. It is paced at a breakneck speed that doesn't stop because they were adopting 19 volumes of manga into 24 episodes.
Yeah, it probably needed a little bit more, to be honest, because I feel as though, like, if you go to the wiki page, I strongly recommend you don't go to the Wikipedia page because it flat out spoils the entire, like it breaks it out even by arc. It's weird. But, yeah, you can basically tell when each arc begins and ends, and it goes by like 6 to 8 episodes per arc, all within the 24 episode span, and you're like, damn, gone are the days of the 26 episodes or anything more. I guess we gotta conserve budget. Give or take, they did work on Dororo after, I believe, Banana Fish, so maybe that would do it, and they're like, MAPPA can only focus on one show at a time.
And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm very happy that they adhered to the original manga content. They didn't do an anime-only thing. That it does make me happy, but again, I just feel like the story fell a bit weaker than I want it to because of so many unique things that it does. That actually, like, by the end of it, I really want to get my hands on the manga. I want to read the entire manga and get the most out of this story that I can. Because it was enjoyable. It just went by so fast.
I can totally get that.
Tune in if you vibe with me on this. I think the last thing that I really do want to touch on in story is that I do not think this show balanced comedy well. Like, it's so gritty a lot of the time. It's like very dramatic. And especially in the back half, they just go into these moments of comedy. And it's like not just like a funny line. It's like straight up like very typical anime, like gag comedy with like funny sound effects or like kind of cartoony faces and stuff. And it just did not work for me. Like,
no, I definitely remember. I'll be quite honest and say I don't even remember just being funny. I just remember, like you said, even in the back half, it just ratcheted up everything to a point where it's just like, oh, we're in a mental hospital. Why are we in a mental hospital? I don't know. Silly faces, but also there's gunfire. There's a shit ton of gunfire.
And they would put humor in like really volatile situations. There was a situation where Ash was kidnapped, escaped a building, and then he's like, God damn it, I have to go back in because of XYZ reasons. And then he's like getting the like little the like thing on the side of your forehead when you're frustrated. And I'm like, this doesn't jive with me. Also, they don't do it too much, but again, in the back half, any instance that they like take Ash's sexuality and try to make it funny is just sad. It's just cringe. Do you remember the scene where he's like on camera and he's singing to try and seduce the guards? And it's just
it's a lot to unpack with that. I think, I'm not excusing it when I say this, but I also say it's cringe, but also I think it is an unfortunate product of his upbringing.
It is, yeah.
He was, quote-unquote, groomed by the age of 7 to essentially be assaulted by older men and to be a prostitute. And he picked up some tools along the way, which he uses to his advantage and to get information, but also it is sad. It is really sad. He uses it more than that time with the camera. He definitely does, and can flip flip the acting off on a dime, and I'm just like, damn.
And it's not necessarily, like, I definitely agree with you. It has reason, and it has to do with his character. I just think that there were some scenes, especially in the back half, especially like that webcam scene where they kind of went for like, haha, this is funny. Like, look at the background we're doing while he's like singing these things.
I'll be your candy boy.
Yeah, I'll be your candy bar or whatever. And it's like, you didn't need to really go
I'll take
that
you
far
to heaven.
Okay, that line was great. I will take you to heaven in 5 minutes. But like they didn't.
And then the guy's just like, all right, let's go, boy. I'm just like, oh, and I'm like, you did.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah. It's just, I think in the back half, there are times where they try to play it off as more of a joke, but it's like within this story context, it's just sad and it's uncomfortable to see it.
I would argue that could be the point, but also it is also, as you said, kind of yikes.
Yeah, kind of yikes. But but overall, like I think good story. Just unfortunately, some
weirdly paced and hyper violent towards the end.
Oh my God, Craig! There were 2 scenes in this show, and maybe I'll drop it in spoiler room. But like one of them I watched on an airplane, and I like viscerally reacted. And Get took out his headphones. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I was just like, "Oh,
damn.
It's just really brutal." And it involved a fork at the prison. Is all I'm gonna say.
All right.
Oh, and then a power drill in the last episode. Oh God, yeah, no, there was some.
Oh yeah, I do remember that one.
Oof.
More vividly than the fork. You got to tell me about the fork in the spoiler room. Yeah. But do you have anything more to say about this the story before we move on to character? I feel as though we've kind of bled into characters a little bit,
right?
But I just want to make sure that we touch upon all facets of the story.
Oh, for sure.
I will say there is a lot of characters on screen for the story, and don't be frustrated by the overabundance of characters. All that said, there's a lot going on, and you just the main focus is Ash and Edgy, as they are essentially they are wanting to be together, but can't be together, but they will be together. Oh, they can't be together. And then there's gross men in power.
Yeah.
Fuck the man, essentially.
For real.
Just anime.
Also, just the ending just hurt me a lot, okay? That's all I'm gonna say for now. The ending hurt me. I wish it was different, but I also still think it was an okay ending. It's complicated.
I actually heard about the ending before watching it, I hear that apparently it's that ending is based, or rather inspired by a movie. I can't recall the name of the movie.
Was this River Phoenix? Was this about how Ash is like inspired by River Phoenix?
Yes.
That's so wild.
Yes.
That's so wild.
Fun fact, and when we get the characters, a lot of character appearances are based on actual actors.
Oh, I know one. That Mr. T motherfucker in Ash's gang looked like Mr. T.
God damn.
Oh my God. All right. But yes, we can totally move on into characters. And actually, I would really, tell me about AG, because he's a main character. And
AG is the 19-year-old soft boy who used to be a pole vaulter. He was a pro at it, but then he was forced to retire. And then, I don't know his relationship to eBay. I think his dad was a friend of eBay, and eBay is a journalist, photojournalist, and that's why I brought him along to kind of give him a change of pace. But like I said a little bit ago, I think he is the rock that kind of just grounds Ash.
Mm-hmm.
When we're talking about appearances, his is based on the actor Hironobu Nomura.
What?
So there you go. I do not know that actor in Japan, but like I said, at least Ash, Max, I believe his name is Goldstein, or Max Lobo, and Edgy are based on actual actors. Max is based on the appearance of Harrison Ford, who is Indiana Jones and Han Solo.
That makes a lot of sense.
And here's the thing that I didn't really recognize in the anime, but apparently it's more prolific in the manga, but apparently Ash's appearance is based in at the beginning by Stefan Edberg, and at the end of the show, River Phoenix.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Very
So
interesting.
it should be noted that there is a time skip, but honestly, I don't, or not a time skip, more so time does progress. But I didn't really recognize the characters' appearances changing drastically.
No,
So
I think that's
maybe
another
that was it.
problem with the fact that it's a condensed adaptation. Because, like, I even noted there's an episode where Ash is somewhere in this situation, and apparently, like, months are supposed to have passed, but you see it in one episode. So I was just like, wait a
Yeah.
second. What?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I think I recall that.
They didn't do a very good job of expressing that, but yes, go on.
But yeah, Edgy, like I said, is the Rock. He's a soft boy. He can cook some damn good food. And he's able to essentially befriend anyone that can come across him, much to the chagrin of certain other characters.
Yes.
Yeah, certain other. God damn it, people. Just fucking talk.
Yes. I think that I agree with you completely. And honestly, at the beginning of the show, I was really down for AG. I was like, he's so sweet. He's so soft. I think what kind of watered him down for me near that middle of the show where Ash and AG are just
bickering.
kind of circling is, and maybe this is different in the manga, but AG is exposed to and goes through so many like scary things himself.
He does.
My boy almost gets involved in a not wanted threesome. My boy like almost gets killed multiple times, and we never ever get a moment of him like being scared and thinking maybe I should leave this. Maybe this scares me. He just kind of blindly follows
He double
Ash.
downs.
Yeah, he blindly follows Ash and he always acts like things are okay. Like he doesn't question things. And I'm just like, dude, you grew up in like a Japan countryside town. You should be at least a little bit tilted with this shit that you're dealing with, but like we don't get to see any of that.
Jesus.
He's just kind of constantly in like soft boy rock mode, and so I think it just took a little depth away from me. Like I wanted to see him reacting.
I can totally understand that.
Yeah, like I wanted
I can
him
totally
reacting
get that.
to stuff. There were times he would get upset with Ash, and I liked those moments, like where they would fight, but I just don't feel like I had enough internal processing from AG, so sometimes he just felt like, okay, you are soft boy, but I don't think you're fully dimensional soft boy.
He's a one-dimensional soft boy.
Yeah,
I totally, like, yeah, it's weird, right? Ash is the one that reacts viscerally to everything that happens to Edgy.
Yeah.
Like, he is the polar opposite to Ash in every sense of the word. And as you said, this boy goes through, like, gang wars. He almost gets assaulted. There's a scene where he is strapped to a bed.
That's the one I'm talking about. That I was so scared as soon as I saw the door open and I saw that. I was like, oh no.
He was strapped to a bed. There was ropes, and I'm
God.
like, you should be psychologically broken.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be there. I'd be broken if I was in that position. Just
Jesus. But no, it's okay. The boyfriend will fucking go on a rampage, and 2 scenes later,
yeah,
they'll work out. He'll work out the feelings Edgy needs to be worked out.
Yeah.
God.
So I mean, I think that was really my own disappointment, but I didn't dislike AG. Like I like AG, and there are some really strong scenes that he gets and lines in the end of the show that I love. So I think he is good, but I do think as far as like character depth within our main cast, I think Ash is really well developed, I thought.
Ash fires on all cylinders. I think he's always at like 11.
Mm-hmm.
Sans the whole anime facial expressions, the irritation mark on the head.
Right.
But like he's firing on all cylinders, and even when he has a quiet moment, he's typically able to essentially do a light from Death Note, and essentially tries to ruin everyone in every facet. that's related to Dino Golzine.
I feel like almost every time there was a reaction from Ash, even if it was just little things, like literally when he would just like silently decide to whip out his gun and shoot somebody, or if he decided that he needed to shoot somebody over and over and over, even after they're dead, like those little details made sense. I could see where he was coming from. He just gets very bullheaded sometimes, and he would be frustrating. I'd be frustrated with him, especially how he treats my best boy, who I will talk about next. Like, sometimes he just would get angry and be a jerk, and I'm like, Ash, why? God damn it, are you like this?
Because talking is overrated, apparently, in this world, and you can't talk about the beef in the room or the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Because, no.
Yeah.
You don't need to know about it.
Exactly. Thank you. I know. Yeah, I'm driving with you right now.
I just, but like, fuck Ash, you're a moron.
But he was understandable. You know, I think that's really what it was. Is he was understandable. I do think at times, like, especially with his body and, like, the stuff that he goes through, sometimes I feel like he would heal too quickly, and I was like, you're a little bit of a Superman right now.
You're right.
But, like...
You're also totally right.
Yeah.
Goes to the hospital and then comes out the next day perfectly fine, like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. But I really liked Ash. I cared about him. It's weird because he's, like, almost... too sought after in many ways, as far as like people
by everyone.
Yeah, people hating him, people really, really wanting to hurt him, like people
physically, emotionally.
People have controversial opinions about Ash, and sometimes it felt a little bit main character syndrome, but also like I just felt for him. I just really want Ash to be happy. Ash deserves to be happy, damn it. Like,
I mean, after the life he's led, yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't come from a very good family, and essentially went to an even worse father figure later. I
felt for Ash, and I think that's really what you want from a main character. So he does a great job with that. But he did not end up being my favorite character, because my favorite character is Sing Su Ling, who is this 14-year-old gang boss. He is Chinese, and he becomes the gang boss of the Chinese gang. And he is so loyal and so pure. He shouldn't be a gang boss, but he tries his best to be a diplomatic gang boss and, like, understand people and talk to people. Sing is always like, why won't people talk to me? I want to talk to them. Nobody in the show fucking talks, except for my sweet, loyal baby boy Sing, who I love a lot. Not to mention, he has the coolest weapon. He's got, like, you know, like, Link's grappling hook and, like, Wind Waker and stuff? Like, he's got, like, a grappling shuriken or some shit. He has this blade.
Yeah, I do recall that.
He just whips out, like, on this metal thread, and it's so fucking cool.
You know, when you talk about Sing, too, if I recall correctly, there is a scene where he talks to Ash about being a gang leader. He's like,
oh, yes.
How did you prepare, or, like, do you feel as though you're qualified to be, like, a leader? He's like, hell no. No, never. Because it's always about war and betrayal and all that sort of stuff. If I'm remembering the context right, but it's just basically it's just like saying no. I wouldn't tell anyone to be a gang leader ever in this sort of situation. And I'm not saying I don't excuse like the lack of communication, but maybe that was Ash's way of saying. You should get out while you still can. Get out while you still can. This isn't worth it. This isn't worth it.
I could see that, actually.
But Sing being Sing and stubborn and having connections to Shorter, but give or take, I mean, Sing is a bro still, like at the end of the show.
Sing is such a good boy. I think that's actually a very insightful point to make. in so many, in a show full of like assholes and like broken people, Sing is still relatively just like innocent and pure and intact. And again, he's young. He's 14, where everybody else is at least like 17, 18, 19 onwards. And he didn't necessarily choose to be a boss. He is put in the position. And kind of what is his good quality, but also his downfall, is that he's just very loyal. He is almost to a degree too loyal, and we don't, again, the show doesn't sit with enough stuff, but even for his arc being rather surface level, I really enjoyed just seeing him kind of have to grapple with that, like grapple with trying to be loyal and live up to expectations, but also have these doubts and these fears and, wonder if he really is in the right place. He's a good boy.
100%.
I like him a lot.
He's a good boy.
Yeah. Are there any side characters that you enjoyed?
Oh, that's an excellent question, because I just actually skimmed through the list here. I want to give a shout out to, maybe this is going, I'll just say his name, Blanca. I didn't write down his actual name, but without going too much into detail, he's the man who trained Ash in, like, all facets of being a gang leader, and I kind of appreciated that. He comes in late game, and he actually adds to the dynamic between Ash, Dino Golzine, and him.
He adds a lot of interesting depth. Yeah. To
the mob world, and I actually really like that.
I did like the things that he provided. I think I was always really confused on where his loyalty truly lies. Because, there's a time when, we won't go too big into it, but he makes connections with Yutlung, or Yuelung, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And he, at times, seems fully legal to Yuelung. Sometimes it seems like he's kind of using Yutlung for his own benefit. I could never really get a full read on him.
I totally get that. I do recall that happening.
Yeah.
But who's really loyal and really good?
I think I know who you're going to say. Tell me.
Max.
I love Max so much. God damn it. Max is so good.
I love Max. I love his wife, Jessica, I believe her name was.
Yes.
I have it in my notes here. Jessica, take no shit from no man. Her and Max are great. They, Max is essentially how I have it written down here in my notes is Griffin's bro from the Iraq War and went to prison and then basically helped Ash uncover the banana fish because Max actually felt pretty shitty for essentially for essentially trying to stop Griffin in Iraq. And Yeah,
Max.
And I don't know the context of this, so maybe you can remind me. But Ash refers to Max's dad.
He does.
Now, when did that happen?
So I think initially it starts as a joke because for reasons they are meeting in public places under the guise of father and son.
That was it.
Yeah, due to certain situations. But then by the end, there's a scene where Ash calls Max dad, and I think there's more there. I love that Max becomes a part of Ash's life. He's not, he doesn't have the influence of Eiji, but I also think that the presence that Max brings, just honestly, as an older male figure in Ash's life, amidst the other old men that he's been exposed to, it's really good to have someone like Max there, and I love their relationship. I love Max a lot. Even just his little mini arc with Jessica, I squealed in happiness. That's something that happened with them in the last episode. I was like, yes! Yep. Oh, yes! Oh, they're so good. I agree.
They're cute. Very cute.
Yes. I would also like to give a shout out to my boy Kane. Kane is really cool and is a good guy. And I really like what they did with his character. Apparently, there is more of him in the manga. Another reason I want to read more. But
Yeah, that, because I thought he was cool. It's just, and he helped. It's just, he didn't get as much limelight as Singh or Ash nearly. He, for all intents and purposes, seemed like him and his crew were the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were the boys from Harlem that essentially, if you needed shit done, they would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was basically all I got. He had style. I do recall that.
He had a lot of style, and I'm just really glad we don't get enough black representation in anime. And he is a very cool dude that, to me, was portrayed in a positive light. And so I really, I dug that for that matter. And it was, I think, good amidst the gang bosses to have someone who is more objective, who is level-headed, who's kind of going to be a mediator. Because... he was cool-headed amongst all the because if I don't know his age, but he wasn't as young as Ash or Singh were by any stretch of the imagination. I think you're right. Yeah.
So he was the most divorced from the whole gang, the turf war essentially, and he was just like, "Yo, these kids here are just essentially running hot. I'll back you up if you need it, but I ain't gonna die for you." Sort of situation.
Exactly. Which, I liked Kane a lot as well. You know who I had complex feelings about is Yutlung.
I didn't like that guy.
Yeah,
I think that's the point. I think that's the point.
There were so many times that he would do something or say something, and I was just like, you are such a little piss baby. You are a petty little piss baby.
I mean, he really is. It kind of excuses his actions, but also he does have kind of a fucked up backstory.
And he makes a good, like, if we're going to call Ash a hero in this show, he's a good anti-hero. Like, he, in many ways, he's an inverse of Ash. He's another path that, like, Ash could be on.
That I can totally see.
Yeah, and it's like, while again, I think it was unreasonable, I was interested, like, you know how Yutlung just, like, all of a sudden is like, I fucking hate AG. I want to kill AG.
Yep.
And then when you realize why, it's like, oh, I get it. Oh, shit. Yeah. Just because AG is something like, the whole time Yutlung is like, Ash and I are alike in a lot of ways, but AG is the one difference. That's the thing that Yutlung doesn't have. And it's well written. It's nicely written. So
it's apt jealousy.
Yeah. So it's I think that Yutlung's character adds depth and intrigue into the show, but he himself is pretty frustrating.
He's a boy longing for another boy across this pond, and the boy he longs after is with another boy. So he's just like, this is a one-sided relationship. I hate AG for taking him away from me.
Yeah,
I don't know if you could read you as romantic or not.
Yeah, I don't actually even know. That's another thing about story that I do think is interesting, and I've explored on Tumblr. There are interesting things that people ship in the show, and a lot of things are so open-ended that you could or couldn't read it. Like, I don't even know if necessarily I feel like Yutlung has feelings for Ash. I think it's more that Yutlung has never had something beyond hatred to keep him going. You know?
Yeah.
He doesn't have that presence. Be that a person that he sought after romantically, but he's just like, why isn't Ash only fueled by hatred like I am? Oh, it's because of you, AG. That's not fair. Like, you know, it's kind of like it's kind of like it's like a child screaming about a toy that they don't have. But
I want happiness. What is this happiness?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, and it's just he has the fucked up past. So he's interesting. While I was reading a lot of like my anime list threads on episodes, people had a hashtag going that was fuck Yutlung. And I was like,
oh jeez.
I get it. I'll stay short on this. Dino is well written in as far as you just hate him. You just hate him and you want to see him brought down. So, you know, that's
the only way
he's not redeeming. He's just a good shitty villain that you want to see be knocked down because fuck that man.
Oh, yeah.
Whew! Oh God, yeah. So, very.
Yeah.
But and you even said it yourself when we were talking about story. It's frustrating that near the end there's this whole thing where it's like, is he really the big bad? Like, we're not sure. And you're frustrated because you're like, no, he is the big bad. I want to see him be the big bad. I want to see him be taken out. And the story does some interesting things with that we'll drop in spoiler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it on standouts, though. Let's move into production, because I've been rambling, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of, it's interesting, because, like I said, I haven't watched the show in a hot minute, and you are coming off fresh, so you have fresh takes, and me just, like, talking to you is, like, having the gears in my brain turned back on.
Oh, good.
And I'm just like, oh yeah, this show definitely does have a lot to unpack. It is dark. It is kind of problematic in a lot of ways.
Oh, shit. I just forgot, though. Also, big shout outs to Shorter. That's all I'm going to say. But Shorter Wong.
Oh, yeah.
Shorter Wong, you are a true bro. You are very good.
He is the ultimate bro. That guy has the most anime of anime hair.
He does.
Just saying.
He does. Yeah.
But let us move on to production. And with every production, we start with the
Craig's Credit Corner.
Yes, exactly. And Cammy, as you said, you have your own research that you have done. So if I miss something, please feel free to fill in the gaps.
All right.
The director of this production is Hiroko Itsumi, who actually is a female of note. I did not know this, actually. She worked with Kyoto Animation for quite a while. Did animations, key animations, assistant directing, and a lot of things. Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, the Haruhi Suzumiya movie. She did her directorial debut with Free Season 1 and Free Season 2.
Ooh.
The series composition is produced by Hiroshi Seko. This person is doing the composition for Vinland Saga and Mob Psycho 100 Season 1 and Season 2.
Ooh.
The music by Shinichi Osawa hasn't really done much, and I'll tell you why here in a second. The only real notable credit I found on his My Anime List page is Ninja Slayer. This guy's really a record producer / DJ.
Oh, wow.
Kind of doesn't really do a lot of anime sort of stuff. This guy is known for what's known as acid jazz and house music. Basically, a lot of club shit. A lot of club music, and smooth music.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, there's your credit corner. I hope that your FICO scores are fairly well this week. Tune in next week and hope that they still continue to be within the 700 to 800 point values.
Wow, that was amazing. I bow down to you with your comedic gold.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
Okay, what did you have any notable production things that you wanted to point out? Or
So the only other notes, really, I already mentioned it, is just the fact that the original manga is 19 volumes long. If you kind of break that down, they were doing like almost a volume per episode. Almost. And that's a lot. That explains like the breakneck pacing. Additionally, I don't know if you noticed this, because I didn't, except I was reading mouth threads as I watched the show. The last episode is 40 minutes long, so it's longer than a typical episode, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's actually, well, given the fact that, as you said, it feels like rushed at times. They probably needed it, and they probably weren't greenlit for more than 24. So that feels like, okay, I guess we gotta do this.
Yeah. But to talk on visuals in general, I think that the visuals and the art were decent, with some great moments, I thought, in the first half, and most of its worst scenes I found in the back half. But I think that it stayed pretty solid for its 2 cores.
Yeah.
Especially if you compare it to like it fell into a lot of the production drawbacks that I now know are just MAPPA. I used to say just Yuri on Ice, but are just MAPPA.
Reused animations and whatnot.
Well,
or?
it gets janky near the end. Is basically
yeah.
it. But the thing is, again, for 2 cores, I think it stayed pretty well, and it is more than we can say for some of its 12-episode shows like Yuri on Ice, which shit the bed after 6 episodes. This show did some good stuff. And I love the art design, and I think that they adapted it well from the manga. I've seen some of the shots in the manga, and I feel like they kind of brought it into a more modern anime scope by like softening some lines and like changing up some of the hairstyles, but it still has a very like hard-boiled 80s, like to me in some of the facial designs, almost like Akira-esque style.
Yeah, I can totally get that.
Like this picture of Sing as my icon, just like to me, I'm like, damn, this. I've only seen bits and pieces of Akira, but
it's
this looks like.
Tetsuo.
Oh, I was thinking he looked like Kaneda. Please don't make my sweet baby Sing to be like Tetsuo.
Oh wait. Oh, sorry, Kaneda. I always get those mixed up. Yeah, it is Kaneda.
Yeah, just like the motive.
That's Mr. Kaneda to you.
Yeah, like the tough boy street gang, like bright colors and the biker jackets. Yeah. So I enjoyed the art a lot, both in character designs and the consistency. Also, the backgrounds I thought were pretty cool.
Yeah, I liked a lot of the set pieces. Like, since it's anime that takes place in New York, it's actually something we don't see very often.
Mm-hmm.
With a lot of like shots of buildings, and you see like a shot of a museum, like and
Statue
kind
of
of
Liberty.
slums. Statue of Liberty, obviously. A lot of shots of the Hudson River and like shots like when you can see like the city from afar. You like. I don't know if you could see Queens or Brooklyn or anything like that. I think it all mostly takes place in Manhattan. But
right.
It's actually really cool when you think about it. And I also agree with you on the character designs. I like Ash's design. Like, I like Eiji. And just no one character looked alike, which was really cool.
Very true. Very true. They all had... There were a lot of different, like, body shapes and sizes. There were interesting facial details that did kind of mirror the cultural differences as well, which was really cool. Like, Max, to me, looks American,
oh, yeah.
But then also, like, he looks different than, like, Ash, for example, and, like, Dino and everybody. I agree. Everybody had really good character designs.
Well, I mean... Everyone did go on and on and on and on about how Ash is beautiful.
And Ash is beautiful!
He's so beautiful. He's so beautiful, but he's a lion. He's a lion. He's bare his fangs at you. And I'm like, we get it. Everyone's hot for Ash, guys.
Yeah.
But he's going to kill you.
I honestly, like... Again, it was sad the way that it came to context, but I even just liked a lot of the different looks Ash would pull off. I think one of my favorite things is whenever he was in the library, he had his glasses on and he was like smart textbook boy polished Ash, And then,
yeah.
And then he'd be like, hey, I'm hanging in the street corners as a gang boss with my hoodie up, Ash. And then he's just like, just Ash in a t-shirt and jeans when he's with Eiji, and he feels like, he can be free. And like, that was just really cool. There was a lot of cool fashion in this show, actually. I like a lot of the outfits. Sing had I like his purple jacket. He had this really cool hoodie with like a that was like gray with like a bright yellow like slash through it in the middle and stuff. Like, and then
are you saying you want that outfit?
I mean, I don't think I could pull it off, but it was pretty cool. Honestly, if I'm having anybody's outfits, I want Yutlung's outfits because he was just a very, very pretty, very beautiful man. That dressed in very pretty dresses and braids and shit. Yeah, everybody had very unique character designs, and I love that.
You want to know something interesting about this Banana Fish as a whole? I said this during the impressions a year ago, but the namesake of Banana Fish actually is lifted from J.D. Salinger's short story, A Perfect Day for Banana Fish. J.D. Salinger is the author for Catcher in the Rye.
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah.
And then it is interesting because the last episode is called The Catcher in the Rye. which, and actually there were a lot of mentions of classic literature as well. I've never read it, but I have also heard of the book The Snows of Kilimanjaro, which Ash mentions about like the snow leopard in the mountain. And and then there's just a lot of interesting classic literature drops, which again I think are very apparent of the 80s setting that didn't really get modernized, but that's okay. That's totally fine.
Listen, even in modern day, you can read classical books.
It's true.
Ash spends most of his time in a library. Library. I mean, like, that's, as he said, that's like his only place to just kind of like be himself. And Edgy's said, wow, he looks like a completely different person when he's here. He's at peace.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Let that sit in. Let me think. I can't really. Yeah, like, I really need to develop an eye for like inconsistency when it comes to like animation, because like on the whole, I think it's by the fact that I binged like 4 to 6 episodes at a time in between sessions that I was like not really able to notice like a huge dip unless it was like, oh, you're demonstrably horrible. But as you said earlier, I'd say it was pretty fluid all across the board. Like, it was a pretty solid production, and I just love the fact that it's set in Manhattan.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
There was some great fight choreography. The bar fight in the first episode when like you see Ash just kick this dude's face is so fucking cool. Like,
I think that's also lifted from another source material.
Ooh.
I think that's Akira. Yeah, I think that's Akira that's lifted from.
Honestly, I'm not surprised they tried to slip in the bike slide from Akira. They probably could have if they really wanted to.
They could have. They should have.
Yeah.
Feel free to message us if I got that wrong. I'm not on the up and up when it comes to my references, but I know that this property has lifted from other things. Which, hey, feel free, because it's the things that it pulled from are pretty great.
Yeah.
Cammy, what did you think of those openings and those endings and that score, the voice acting,
all the audio stuff? Those
audios.
I think that like especially in moments where the animation maybe wasn't like the most stunning thing, then I think that the soundtrack helped keep the ambiance, like when the visuals did not. Like, the soundtrack is so atmospheric, and I think it was really good. I think it's like, I just like the one track where it really just plays in the fact that it's just like, all right, we're investigating, or this is like the bad guy theme, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds about right. There were some really iconic tracks that just really set moments. I don't even remember what it was. It was some gang planning or something like that, and this track comes in with like this really heavy, like gritty synth, just like all of a sudden, and I'm like, oh damn, like, okay, I noticed this, I feel this, you are going for a vibe here, which is why when you mentioned like the whole thing about the soundtrack
acid
jazz, I totally feel that. And I liked it, and it fit the setting of the show a lot. As far as the openings and endings go, I honestly loved all of them. The openings and the endings. For me, the second opening is probably my absolute favorite. I
also can get that.
Oh God, I cannot express like how viscerally I just absolutely felt in the second opening when he sings "Save You." There's nothing there, and then you just hear this fucking like haunting chorus that's just like singing the "oh wow" with the like really emotional resonance. Like, I felt that, and I love that song.
Lots of swinging shots and him pointing the gun, that sort of thing.
Yes, it's just so good. But they're all very good. The first opening is also very good. It gets you very pumped for like all the action that's gonna happen. And the endings are big sad.
Did you know that the first opening, the artist Survive Said the Prophet did the second ending, as well as the first opening?
Oh, shit.
As well as the first opening for Vinland Saga.
Holy shit. Yeah, no, they're amazing. Wow.
Yeah, the Screamo.
Wow. I want to say the band for the second opening, Freedom, is Blue Encounter, who I've never heard of, but I do know their name because that song is on Spotify and it's on my anime openings list that I have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And that, yeah, really great openings and endings. This show also did one of my absolute favorite things that we haven't touched on in a long time, which is when they lead in the credit song at the end of the episode. Really important scenes. And ooh, this show did that a lot.
I love that. I love it when anime do that.
Yeah, that was super good.
But what about the voice acting?
Yeah. Okay, here, before I hit you with that,
yeah.
Doesn't the show deserve a dub? Like, don't you think that
it does?
Yeah,
it really does. And I don't know who has the rights to the show, but I wouldn't be surprised if it eventually got one. I know Land of Lustrous was the show that was on Amazon before it got a dub. That was Sentai Filmworks that has that license. I don't know who has this one, but I definitely believe that it could stem from having a dub, and it would be awesome for all the more awesome.
Yeah, just the fact it's set in New York and there's like a lot of... I just feel like it could really do well. You could have fun with like some of the accents too. Like maybe some of the people have like New York accents, things like that.
Hey, I'm walking over here.
Hey, I'm walking over here. Yeah, no, I think it'd be really good, and it would be a good way to pay a lot of actors because it's a huge cast. So yeah, I think it needs a dub. I did really like the vocal performances. You know what's funny? Usually when I watch these shows, I will be like, oh, I think I recognize that voice actor. And then I look into who they are. I didn't actually look into any of the performances. And I think part of that is because I think that the actors just portrayed their roles well. Like, I was like, this voice is this character. I wasn't thinking, oh, this is Mamoru Miyano as XYZ, for example. You know.
Well, if Mamoru Miyano was in it, then he'd be screaming a lot more.
Oh my god.
I mean...
Yeah. What did you think of the voice acting?
I'll be honest and say, much like you, I typically try and like look up the voice actors as I'm watching the show, but like I was so engrossed in it that I was like, I wasn't able to pin anyone down.
I think I pinned one down, and let me check. Ooh. I will check right now, but I think I recognized Yut Lung's voice actor, and I want to say his name is Makoto Furukawa. If I'm right, he has voiced Yuta in Chunibyo, and he has voiced Lelouch in Code Geass. But I'll fact check right now. I will fact check right now. Why are the fan wikis so bad?
You're correct.
Hey, got it.
Jun Fukuyama?
Yeah, yes. Has he...
Yep.
So I got his name wrong, but yes, Jun Fukuyama. And yeah, he was Yuta in Chunibyo. He was Lelouch in Code Geass, I believe.
Yep, you're correct.
Okay, cool. I think I recognized him because he plays very dramatic characters, but he also kind of has like a light, can almost be feminine like sound to his voice. So it just somewhere it caught on. But no one else. Like, I didn't actually recognize Eiji's voice actor. I didn't recognize Ash's voice actor.
Same.
Ash did a really good job. Oh, they were
the emotions that boy had to portray. He did a damn good job.
Yeah, there were a lot of good like cries and screams and having anger, expressing anger that you had to keep boiled down. He also did a very good job at, because you know that Ash has all this internal stuff that he's dealing with, but he doesn't allow himself to express it. So it's always just kind of simmering at the surface, and he did a very good job with that. Again, the Yuma Uchida? Yeah, Yuma Uchida was Ash. He is young. He's 26.
Ooh,
and
nice.
I don't think he actually has a ton of roles under his belt. It does say he was someone in Iron-Blooded Orphans, Mobile Suit Gundam. He was Ein Dalton, whoever that was. He was Yuma Kosaka in Gundam Build Fighters Try. I guess John would know who that is. But yeah, not a lot. And he also, in 2017, received the 11th Seiyu Awards for Best Male Newcomer. That's pretty cool.
Right on.
Yeah, so a new guy that did a great job. I hope he gets more roles in the future.
Well, alrighty. Do you have anything more to say on production, or shall we go into ratings?
I think because we're going to go into a spoiler room, we could definitely go into ratings.
Okay, ratings it is. You said you were going to give the recommendation, and I passed the show, so I'll go last.
Okay.
Cammy, what do you got for us?
Okay. I'm going to try not to ramble. I think that Banana Fish is, again, not a show for everybody. And I do think that you also you're going to be benefited if you go in with some background knowledge on it, just keeping in mind the time it was made and that there's going to be heavy stuff involved. And I think that there are some fumblings in the ways of writing, in the ways of pacing. But I really enjoyed this show. Even like a lot of my frustrations with this show, I talk about in paragraphs when I message people. Lord knows how much I have talked in this review. And that really, I think, stems from the fact that I do really appreciate a lot of this show. I appreciate how unique it is. I appreciate the fact that it was made so long ago and got an adaptation. I appreciate that whether it be for better or for worse, I felt a lot of things going through this show. And it's even just like since finishing it, I've just wanted to keep talking about it. I keep thinking about it. I keep talking about it. And
that's good.
Even just the bad things, I come from a place of being passionate about it. And I think that says that I did truly enjoy this show. I don't think it's a masterpiece. So I'm going to give it a like it, but I enjoyed it. I think it's good. And also it's hard to recommend to everybody, but I want more people to watch and talk about this show because I feel like it is so unique amongst a lot of the mainstream anime that we have coming out now. So I'd love to see this get more attention and just be talked about for better or for worse because there's a lot there.
Yeah, I think it's a case of the way it was delivered to Western audiences through Amazon Prime Video. I feel as though if it hit like Netflix or like Crunchyroll or High Dive, it would have been so much more marketable.
That's a good point.
Netflix to a lesser extent for obvious reasons, but if it hit Crunchyroll or High Dive, I myself didn't hear jack of anyone's talking about it outside of friend of the show Zach watching it and then saying, "Yo, I fell off because for reasons." But that aside,
yes, recommendation. So this is just gonna sound weird, but one of the things that I kept thinking when I was watching this show, especially in the first half, and it's probably the fact that this is like a suspense cliffhanger kind of drama story. This reminded me of a lot of the same experience I had when I watched the show Monster by Naoki Urasawa. I think that a lot of failings that Banana Fish has, Monster just does pristinely, does perfectly. So keeping that in mind, I think that Monster definitely handles pacing better because it's 72, 74 episodes, something like that. But it's a full anime adaptation. It really addresses just kind of the darkness of society that we don't really like to talk about a lot, which I think Banana Fish also does really well. There is a Japanese main character that's in a different country with a different culture, meeting people for better or for worse, finding allies and enemies along the way. It does a lot of the same sort of cliffhangers, and you're like, oh crap, someone shot a gun, but who was it? Who's okay? Who got shot? It
cuts to black.
Oh yeah. Monster's actually a lot worse of an offender of that than Banana Fish.
Damn.
But yeah, it's a unique suspense thriller that is really good. And I think if you liked a lot of stuff in Banana Fish, I think you'll really enjoy Monster because it's superb and honestly one of the best anime of all time. So you should watch it. Whether you watch Banana Fish or not, please watch Monster.
It's funny too, right? Because I remember for the audience at home, Cammy comes up to me last night. I'm watching Carol on Tuesday. to date this show, Carol and Tuesday came out on the 30th, and we're recording this on the 31st. She comes up to me, messages, and she's like, I got a topic idea. I'm like, rad. You come up with the greatest of ideas, Kevin. You're aces. And she's like, I have a recommendation, too. If you don't have a recommendation, I'm like, listen, all I got is Bakano. And then she's like, well, I would recommend Monster. And then she gives me like a bulleted list. I'm like, damn, she has thoughts. She has notes. She has investment in this. I'm like, I just have it because it's New York and it's got gangs and it's just cool. But she's like, yo, let me tell you about this heavy shit and how the darkness of humanity can be influenced in what is known as Monster, this anime that everyone and their mother keeps saying is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Mm-hmm. I have yet to watch it. I've yet to watch it.
You will.
I will.
I think you even told me that you were like looking into checking it out later down the line after we did that the Box Bits episode. So
yeah, definitely.
Honestly, if you ever get mono, which I hope to God you don't, Craig, but if you do, watch Monster, because that's how I watched it, and it like saved my life when I was feeling so miserable that I just gotta watch a good show.
Fun fact, if I recall correctly, that's how Cass watched the entirety of Fate Zero.
See, that's what you gotta do. Just find a really good anime, a really good like suspense drama thriller anime, and there you go.
the perfect combination for sickness, kids. Watch suspense anime.
Yeah.
All right. As I said, I passed this back in summer 2018. Watched the first 3 episodes. I was like, yo, this shit is intriguing. I want to know more about the banana fish. And I'm like, and then admittedly, like, hearing more and more, like, I kind of got, like, I fell off and I didn't know what to make of it. I heard murmurings from our friend Zach that said, yo, it's kind of just, it goes places, it kind of gets dark, and I'm just like, I don't want that of my boy. And then I was like, okay, I should probably formulate my own opinion as an individual. And I'm like, yo, the best parts of the show, obviously, Edgy and Ash to some degrees, right? The whole will they, won't they? The whole why don't you talk to me? Why don't you look at me when we make love? Sort of like they don't go that far. That was hilarious. They don't go that far.
Oh, okay.
They don't go. They don't do the seme-uke thing. Just want to let you know that it is. But that aside, it has problems, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the thing that Kemi just said. Like it can get it can get abusive, assault, racist. But that's kind of like, I don't know if that was written in an intentional way or just a byproduct of, well, shit. I didn't mean for that to happen. That aside, it was enjoyable. I'll like. Sans the whole pacing and the acceleration into chaos, and then as the bullet train crashes into the station, I enjoyed it. As I said, I kind of like watched it over the course of literally a week. I just loaded up episodes on my iPad and just...
It's really bingeable. I would watch really 6 episodes at a time.
Yeah, like having a commute also helps with like binging any media, in my opinion. So this was a perfect show to binge. And I immediately after watching all of this went to Dororo, another MAPPA production. Suffice it to say, I like the show.
That makes
surprisingly,
me so happy, Craig.
Yeah, right. Like I said, it could be triggery. There's content warning for the show. Hell, even knowing the ending of the show didn't really deter me from it, because I kind of wanted to see how it was handled. And I was pleasantly surprised by how it stuck the landing.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Right on.
It stuck the landing like Eiji's pole vault jump over a iron barred fence.
God, that was painful.
Oof, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it landed all in glass.
That's so cool.
I don't feel bad for spoiling that. That's within the first 3 episodes alone. Okay. Before we roll right into the spoiler room to express all of our feels, let me hit you all with some social links. Twitter.com/anychatbox for short form, 240 characters or less. Dom manages that social media account, so stay tuned for early access announcements, free announcements on the Friday, and sneak peeks of the Twitter or the Patreon, not the Patreon, the episode icons to see what we're going to be talking about in the future. If you want to talk to us in long form, suggest a topic, you want to suggest a live phone anime for us to consider, hit us up on email, anychatmail@gmail.com. Again, that is anychatmail@gmail.com. If you want to listen to us on any audio device of your choosing, we're on every platform under the sun. If we are not on a platform, feel free to message us and I'll hook us up with it, because I didn't realize that Spotify was that easy and did that recently. So we can be found on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and again, Spotify and YouTube. If you want to look at a graphic by Chickaboom, go there. It's not very interactable, unfortunately. We are not cool enough to get webcams or a studio like the Anime Addicts Anonymous. One day we will
make
get
do.
Yeah, essentially, right? Patreon. If you want to donate some hot cash funds, hit us up there. Patreon.com/anychatbox. Shout outs to the Patreon squad: Sarah, CorpsyAnn, Carol, Suki, Paul, and TroubleClef. You keep the mics on and the lights on as well. You help pay our SoundCloud, which continues to keep us alive. I forgot to mention this actually. If you want to rate us on iTunes, feel free. We'll read your review comments on the air to see how good or bad we are doing.
That's very true. We appreciate it.
And finally, if you haven't had enough of my docile tones, then you can find me elsewhere at what Cass calls the O&H on podcast, Save Our Progress, soundcloud.com/Save Our Progress. Recently, oh god, what did we do recently? We did anime movie night with Cass, actually. We did Summer Wars, the 2009 Mamoru Hosoda film. Is it like Digimon R War game? Yes. But is it good? Also yes. It has a badass grandmother in it. So, there you go. Get hype, kids. It's over there. Now, without further ado, we are going to go into the spoiler room and discuss feels.
Yes.
Cammy.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel about the lack of communication and the fact that it led to Ash dying?
Like,
I knew about him being stabbed, but I didn't realize that it was framed in such a somber
way.
Well, okay. It's a shitty way, but the way that he dies in his natural, like his place where he goes to rest in the library, it's like a somber, peaceful way. Like even the librarian lady's like, "Sir, you can't sleep here."
Must be a nice dream. Oh God.
I feel bad. I feel bad for whoever's gonna find him dead.
Right. Like,
that is going to be horrifying. The blood all over the floor.
That was a little suspension of disbelief, because I'm like, come on, we know that he was bleeding by the time he like walked back in there. And I get that it's a big library, but like at the same time, as someone who even works in a library, like you're going to notice if there's blood on the floor.
Yo, that blood.
Yeah.
But also, Edgy left his soul with him, or his heart with him.
My soul is always with you, I cried.
Yep, that line.
Oh, God. That was beautiful and sad, and I cried.
But, bro, just let me tell you something. For the entire back and forth that those two boys have had, you should go. No, I will stay. You should go. No, I'll stay. Okay, I guess I'll go. Wait, why? Why did he go eventually?
Yeah.
He was so... okay. Was it the fact that he literally got shot?
I think it's...
Did that wake him up?
I think that there is a mutual understanding between them during another scene that I wrote in my notes. I was talking about the hospital scene. that did not have to do me dirty like that. Like, it was cliche, but I started tearing up and I was like, don't do this, you're hurting me. Because that's a scene where I feel, know they have to separate, but they want to reach out to each other. And like, even just the whole fact that they're about to literally touch hands and then someone comes and Eiji's just like, go, and he has like tears in his eyes, and then Ash, the kind of realizes that, and he has tears in his eyes and he runs away. I think at that moment they just both realize there are so many obstacles to them being together that right now what is best for them is to be separate. And I think that Eiji also, as soon as Ash ran off, Eiji didn't know like what happened to Ash. And Ash, I don't think
at all.
Yeah, and Ash, I don't think reached out. And while Sing, I think Sing even mentions this, like he is like, what the fuck? Like, go see Eiji. Why haven't you seen Eiji? Because Sing is a sweet little loyal boy. He's frustrated, but he's not going to overstep that boundary, basically.
Yep.
I think people didn't want to question Ash's needs, and then Eiji didn't really have a way of reconnecting with Ash again.
But it just seems so weird, because you brought up the fact that Eiji, like, was in a threesome, went through hell and back.
Almost died. Got shot. Almost died.
Yeah, and then it's just getting shot at the apartment. It was the thing that did him in. He's just like, okay, I guess I should go.
Yeah, I think...
You're bad for me, I guess I finally realized that now. You taught me to shoot a gun, but
It's again, that's kind of just my thing, is that their relationship is developed kind of clunkily, I think.
Yeah.
Again, I want to read the manga for more context where it hopefully gets more depth.
You're too good for me. You're a bad boy.
Well, and
you're too good for me.
I think that Eiji also, before that, like when they were even talking and he's like, you should come be with me to Japan, like Eiji knew that he was not going to stay in America. Eiji knew, like, he had been thinking of his sister and his family. He knew he was going to go to Japan. His goal was to have Ash go with him. And through the letter, and he provided the plane ticket, like, that's what he was aiming for.
Intending.
Yeah. And, oh, God, okay, so then we fucking cycle back. Why did I even have fucking hope? Ash pulls out the ticket, and then he reads Eiji saying, I was never afraid of you, and he runs. Why did I feel hope at all? Because it's
just the way even the audio direction is even handled, because it, like, if I remember, it had a swelling track, and then as soon as, what's his name?
Lau, yes.
Lau, yeah, just nonchalantly just stabs him. Like, he doesn't even do a run, if I recall correctly, he doesn't even do a running animation.
It's just boom.
He just boom.
It
and then music just cuts.
I literally, I was like, what? What is this? No!
What a anticlimactic, like, why didn't Sing is such a loyal boy, but Sing, like, I knew Lau was going to be the one to kill him.
You know what's...
Well, before I started it. And when I saw him on screen, I'm like, oh, this is the boy. I know that it's going to be one of the Chinese boys, because shorter. And I was like, is it going to be Sing? No, Sing seems to be cool now. Nope, it's Lau. Great, cool.
Here's why I was
6 episodes before.
Here's why I was so frustrated. I'll be honest. After Lau walked out, like, on Sing, I completely forgot about him. And that stabbing scene, I didn't even realize it was him until the moment when he's like, you would take Sing from me. And I was like, wait, it's this motherfucker? This minor character motherfucker is the one that's gonna do Ash in. No! It's unacceptable, and it's frustrating, and I hate it. Like, it just...
And at that moment, Ash's healing factor didn't kick in.
Oh, okay. So, just... in a way, also, too, like... It almost just felt, I think especially because it was Lau and he was a side character, and it's just so, like, it felt secondary, and it almost felt contrived. Like, it was just kind of like, I gotta kill Ash off, here we go. Because there are other things too, like, let's talk about the fact that minutes ago, before Lau decided to come out, he obviously followed Ash. And Ash and Sing were talking. And Ash didn't make any incendiary moves to harm Sing. And if he was going to do so, it was going to be after everything happened. So Lau should have been able to read the fact that, like, okay, things patched up. I also, even if he couldn't get it from that situation, even though he walked out of the gang, I feel like he would know somehow, especially if he's watching Sing, that they patched things up. And I feel like even if anything, Sing would have probably tried to reach out to try to find Lau and, like, clarify. It just doesn't feel believable to me.
Talking is hard.
It's
even in anime.
And also, just as someone who really loves Sing's character and knows that he tries to find the best in people and trust people, I'm just really mad that, like, he and his arc are even remotely related to what led to Ash's death. That's disrespectful to his character. Like, obviously he's not the fault of it, but, like, yeah, let's just shoe in, like, Sing's older brother and, like, miscommunicate. And I'm like, no, don't do my boy like that. My boy would never want Ash to die. He saved Ash multiple times. Like, it's just so
he was pissed about Shorter dying, but, like, after a while he kind of got it because, again, going back to the did you want to be a gang leader? No, I didn't want to be a gang leader.
And the only reason that he asked Ash to fight him near the end of the episode is because he's like, look, this wasn't in my control, but those guys that shot AG were my guys. So I need to take responsibility as the gang leader and challenge you to a fight. Like, he did that out of responsibility. And then Lau's just like, you were gonna take Sing from me. And I'm like, no, dude. And especially with the passage of time, it's been a lot of time since then. I don't buy that he wouldn't have found out that, like, Ash is not going to kill Sing. Like, it just... Here's the deal. Leading up to the last episode, I'd kind of understood and felt that I could accept Ash dying. One thing I actually really love about the second opening alongside the song is that it really hints at
foreshadows
Ash.
It.
Oh, totally. Just the fact that Ash is walking in the snow and there's all these little, like, blurs to the snow. It, like, fades out of his face into the snow, and then the text comes in as, like, the snow that's freshly being walked upon the ground, which goes back to the whole thing about the snows of Kilimanjaro and, like, walking alone and realizing you can't go back. Like, yes, it's made very nicely foreshadowed in that opening that, like, yeah, Ash is gonna die. But I just really don't like the way that his death was handled.
It's very anticlimactic.
It's frustrating. It felt a little contrived, but also I'm just sad. I'm just really hurt by it. Like,
but also a lot of other deaths in the show are also short and contrived. Shorter being one of them.
Oh God, Shorter. Like,
let's inject you with the banana fish and then have you just be euthanized.
At least, like, with Shorter, that's what he, like, at that point where he broke out of the influence of banana fish, he's just like, I can't, you need to stop this. You need to kill me. Like, Ash was killed the moment he wanted to live. He had no agency in his death, and it makes me sad. But yes, we can, outside of Ash's death, we're probably good. It's just controversial, and I am sad.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. Let me think. What others? I guess the only other thing I really have, like, that's really memorable is the rush nature of the ending, the anticlimactic.
Oh yeah.
The mercenary guy that continues to assault Ash and just decides to just say, "Fuck you, Dino. I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to weaponize the banana fish and assault to the last bitter." And I'm like,
no, that was dumb. That was very dumb. I didn't like that guy. Another thing that I don't like for a lot of reasons, but I'll just leave it short, is that Ash didn't get to kill his abuser, and that is also upsetting. Like, he deserved to kill Dino, rather than Dino making a choice to die. Ash deserved the final blow.
Yeah. And then Dino doesn't necessarily die, but he just pushes a button to help Ash out. And I'm like, what? Okay. Yeah, especially after the whole, I'm going to blackmail you for Edgy's sake, and I'm going to adopt you, and then
That was sick. When Ash just like
I'm
breaks in that scene and he's just like, you use me as your like toilet. Oh my
remember,
god.
yeah, like the whole sequence where he's adopted, he's in a wheelchair, he's starving himself, he's not
blinded.
eating. Yeah.
Oh god, no, it's brutal. It's just yeah. Ash deserved happiness and glorification, and like the end in so many ways, he just didn't really get it. I do agree with you that I think that in choosing his moment to die, like when he knew it was coming, he did get to have some solace, that he got to be in the library. He had the final message that, AG is always with him. And then the fact that he died with like a smile on his face and the sun over him, just like, oh God. It's resonant, but I'm just so hurt.
Yeah.
They didn't have to do me like that.
Well, I mean, if anything, despite it being bittersweet, it's a decent end. Like, it's a very beautiful shot, despite it having a very problematic way to lead there. Like,
yeah,
the tone of the world and just the execution of half of the shit, especially the back half, led to just like a lot of questionable shit. And then you're just like, oh shit. He died in the library. Okay, that's actually pretty nice.
That's quiet, which is really nice. Yeah. I talked to Mandy over from Anime Addicts last night because she'd watched it, and she also mentioned maybe she thought the author really believed that like Ash couldn't really go without dying because he was born into a lot of sadness and tragedy, and it just followed him wherever he went. And, and I'm like, oof, that's sad, but also poetic that he found a little bit of solace in death.
So you're saying basically by him essentially destroying all the things that brought him down, he was able to finally be released from the hell that he was a part of?
A bit, yeah. More just that he was trapped in a lot of sadness and undertaking just darkness, and maybe she just believed he couldn't the series couldn't finish without his death. Like maybe she just wanted some sort of poetic message in there. I just wish it was more within Ash's control or Ash's choice.
Yeah. Like
even if he died after getting to kill Dino, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But like he doesn't
both taken out. I mean,
he just doesn't get that agency, and it's so sad. It's so sad.
But again, healing factor. He gets stabbed. Wait, no, was it? No, it was a mercenary dude that got stabbed with the electric drill, wasn't it?
Yeah, the
power drill in the shoulder. What's the fork that you were talking about earlier?
Oh, okay. So that was when he was in jail, and I don't even remember this guy, but there was just like some asshole guy in jail.
Oh, right. That tried assaulting him.
Yeah, I think he successfully did assault him once, and then another time he tried to assault him. And it was like when Ash and Max, I think, were escaping, and then he basically gets the guy down on the ground, like incapacitated. Ash just grabs a fork, and you just like see a shot of the other dude's crotch, and then you see Ash flip the fork, and then he's like, "This is for earlier," and he stabs him in the nuts with a fork.
Nice.
I freaked out. Okay, and then I guess one more moment too that I think was my favorite Ash and AG moment. And if you have a favorite Ash and AG moment, you should totally share that as well. Was actually when Ash had just escaped the military guy who'd like kidnapped him and like just recently assaulted him. And
where AG consoles him.
Yeah, basically, Ash throughout the show, they do this multiple times and they display it so subtly that he is affected when he is assaulted because someone that he knows and like trusts will be like, "Hey, let me see your wounds," or touch him on the shoulder, and he just slaps them, and he has this wild look in his eyes and he says, "Don't touch me." Like he does that multiple times, and then he kind of, even in this case it was Kane who wanted to check on his wounds, and he's just like, "Look, I'm really sorry," and he sits there and he's just like shaking because he's so shaken up, and AG just looks at him. It's completely silent, and then just like encases Ash in his arms, and then like Ash kind of can come back into himself.
Yeah, like kind of
Oh.
snap back, but also kind of like kind of break in that moment.
I just thought that was so powerful. It was like quiet but very powerful. Like his
I just
Eiji, like the trust Eiji knew, he's like, I can touch you. It's okay. I'm protecting you. And then Ash also reciprocates that. Oh.
I hate the gross use of power
Mm-hmm.
of men in the show.
Mm-hmm.
All just using younger men for
Their gains.
their games, literal playthings. And I'm just like, just stop. I've had enough watching this. Stop it. Just fucking stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought this bit with Ash starving himself would have been the apex of this, but nope. You just gotta introduce you just have to introduce the final villain to just fucking beat the shit out of him, tie him up, and then like assault him. And I'm like, no. And thank God that the show is actually tasteful, and I'm sure the source is also tasteful in the fact that it doesn't show it. Thank God.
But
it shows
part,
after.
Yeah, it's off screen.
It shows after shots, and it shows kind of like in the most sensory way possible, like shots of Ash after the fact with like hits and like kind of like pants down to an extent. And I'm like, you know what just happened, and that's just wrong. That's bad. The show needed to have stopped that a while ago, but nope, keeps going.
It's just so sad too, because I feel like from most of the interactions that are at least like that we see the most on screen, like you said, with those implications, it's always implied that not only was he assaulted, but violently assaulted as well, because he always comes out with wounds, and that's just so terrible. Oh God. And like, honestly, I won't go too deep into this, but I think that some people read at this point that Ash may have like romantic feelings for Eiji, but may honestly, like, they might be asexual together, because Ash just has such a trauma associated with sex. And I could totally see that. Like, there are a couple where
interesting.
I they're not a couple that I'm like, oh my God, I want them to kiss and make out. I did enjoy the kiss scene in episode 3. But that's not really what I want for them. I just want them to be able to
be happy
together and just be with each other. Like, that's literally all I need. They can get a house by the beach and just like look out at the sunset on the porch together. Like, that's just it. Like, because to me, more than anything, they're just soulmates. Like, they really help each other as humans and console each other, and it's really, really beautiful. So good stuff. There is a manga chapter that is basically the aftermath of Banana Fish. It's called Garden of Light, I think. And people were asking if it was going to get adapted, and obviously it didn't in the main production, but I think that there are clamorings or hopings that this after chapter would be released as an OVA along the line at some point. So I'd hope so. I think Sing's like grown up in it, and it's like people reflecting about Ash like in the future. And I think I think I've heard it's a bit less super sad than the ending of the show, so I would like to see that.
Good.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that about covers it.
Yeah, I was about to say, really, I just had the ending and just Shorter's death and
oh God,
just the gross abuse of power and how it's just gross. Dino's a scumbag.
I'm kind of mad that, especially just given that Ash dies, I'm kind of mad that Yutlung gets like a second chance thing at the end.
Yeah.
I loved seeing Sing slap him and be like, you need to fucking grow up.
You need help. You need help.
But I'm also like, there's also like slight implications, I feel like, where they're like, Sing is going to basically be the Eiji in Yutlung's life, and I'm like, he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve it.
No, he doesn't.
He manipulated my sweet baby, but my sweet baby's loyal to Chinese people, so he can't stay mad at him. God damn it. So, yeah, that was interesting. But like, especially if you're gonna kill off Ash, I don't think that Yutlung deserved a second chance. So yeah. Anyway, what a fucking show. What a ride. Thank you for
a wild ride.
Thank you for being my accomplice on this.
Yeah, not a problem at all. It's been a hot minute since you and I have had a solo episode. Not since Blood Blockade, Battlefront, and Beyond. Yet another wild ride that episode was.
Oh, yeah. Very different ways this time.
Yeah. Thank God that Blood Blockade isn't as dark as the show. Okay. Is that all we have for the spoilers then?
Yeah, I think we got it. We can duck on out of here so you can go eat some burgers.
Right on. Alrighty, with that said, this has been episode 124 of the In Chat Box. Take it easy, y'all.
Have a good one. Banana fish.
Banana fish.
Banana fish.